our 2024 application was US 23 and 58. Well, I'm sorry, we'll go back. This was from 2020. This was our application that we put in at US 23 and 58 intersection in Duffield. The project is dual left turn lanes. If you're going northbound on 23, you know, we have one turn lane going left on the 58 now. Traffic backs up there outside of the turn lane, and it's very dangerous during the high volume traffic times in Duffield. So this project will also correct the right turn to Natural Tunnel Parkway. There will be some improvements done there as well, and also some improvements where you turn into the, I believe it's the Marathon McDonald's station. So some of those turns will be fixed. They're going to install a new traffic signal there. The estimated award of this project was $4,771,075, and we should be getting construction in a couple of months with the estimated completion date of 6/3/26. So look for this one coming anytime, and that was applied for in 2020 and successfully funded. So I think that'll be a good project with all the traffic going to the industry in Duffield and the school there. Hopefully that'll help with the congestion at that intersection.
When you come out there at Natural Tunnel, getting on US 23, it's no longer going to have a medium strip. You're going to turn right and go.
Different project.
That's a different.
Yeah, this is at McDonald's in
The
Duffield.
one at McDonald's, okay?
Correct.
Yes, okay. I thought they was both together.
They're separate. So in 2022, we applied for US 23 at Chapel Street and Railroad Crossing improvements. This is in Weber City. This project is also tied to a metropolitan project with the Kingsport MPO, and that is going to correct the businesses from the Tennessee state line to the Riverside property. There's just the free in and out of all those businesses. So it's going to clean, the MPO project is going to clean up those entrances and exits. So it's going to make that corridor safer. And then this part in Weber City is going to start preliminary engineering later this year. This project was funded successfully at $7,389,395. This was our 2022 Smart Scale application. The two projects will be done simultaneously, so that'll cause a lot of congestion and havoc in that section of Weber City to the state line while this is going on. But I think it'll be a much safer for our citizens traveling that way, and it'll be a good project. So watch for that one. That's the next one coming up. And then for the 2024 applications, we were not successful with the US 23 Natural Tunnel Parkway improvements. We scored really low. We had a 1.1 score. We ranked 11 out of 20 in the district and ranked 199 out of 270 statewide. The estimated cost of this project was $12 million. So we will be tweaking this application for the Smart Scale round that will be open next year. Like Mr. Sumter said, economic development is a high scoring piece for these projects, and where this one is, you know, kind of out of Duffield, a couple of miles, you know, you don't have a lot of economic development there. So it's going to be harder to get that scoring up, but this will be our focus. I guess if it's the board's decision, if it would be the focus going forward, but this is VDOT's recommendation that we tweak this and reapply next year in the next round.
This was a high priority for me. There's been too many fatalities there.
And we really thought that would make it a good project that would score, because we do have a fatality, a lot of wrecks. That data was all included. But VDOT will help us try to improve that project.
The economic impact of that project, would tourism be economic?
It would have to be something new that's not. They want, I know when we did the Weber City project, they want like COs and things that have been within the last, say, 6 months or a year. So unless something new was in the natural tunnel area, we couldn't just say it was because of tourism.
Could we count the reopening of Redstone?
That might be a good one. But
I mean,
you know, when we did this project, they weren't open at the time.
Yeah, I mean, every little bit.
That, and also they just recently got the money for
The
So
pool
you're
would be a
gonna
good connection.
have more traffic coming to go that way.
Yeah.
And if the pool is open in 2026, then that would be a good connection to put in with that application.
Good.
Yep. So I just wanted to give you an update on those because I did get our score and things last week. I've got a sheet that shows our scoring more in depth. If you would like for me to email that to you, I'd be glad to do that.
All right, we'll call it back to order, and we'll start with the ratifying of the AEP letter of support.
That letter is on your tablet. I did call the board before I sent the letter. They needed it in advance of today's meeting for their grant. So this is the same letter that you looked at previously, and it just needs to be ratified to make official.
Do I hear a motion to ratify this letter?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Everyone vote by saying aye. Any opposed?
One thing on AEP, I understand that the House of Delegates has passed a bill, well, recommended a bill to the Senate to reduce the rates, make it more competitive with Dominion and others in the area. So that's moving forward. Y'all have a feel for how it's going to go, or?
I think it'll pass.
Yeah.
It had pretty well
Bipartisan.
bipartisan and overwhelming support. I think that one will go through.
Yeah, and I think the governor will support it as well. All right. Resolution approving equipment lease purchase of a 2025 Packer truck.
This is also on your tablet. Our financing company needed this resolution for their records. Our new Packer truck is ready to be delivered once these documents are received. I chose the leasing option to pay the first one up front because we do have the money in the budget this year for that, and then the remaining 4 payments will be distributed over the next 4 years. So this was in the budget under the vehicle replacement line item for Public Works. We have a certain amount of money each year, and we fit our trucks into that. They're on a rotation with a chart that goes out many years. That way we're not having to come and ask for $350,000 in one specific budget year. We can look at those going out in the future and budget our money the best we can for those trucks. So it was time for a 2025 purchase. We've got a 2021 purchase that's getting ready to roll off, so we're good on our payments to stay in our within budget. So I just need this resolution approved to move forward.
Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, everybody vote by way of saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? Next is approve the fiscal year 2026 budget calendar.
This is also on your tablet. This is my best guess of how the budget will proceed throughout its process for fiscal year 26. Requests for funding from the departments are due February the 14th. At that point, we'll start working on a draft budget. The plan is for the budget committee to meet in March and then bring their recommendation to the full board after that. So, of course, the budget calendar is fluid. It can move based on how the General Assembly session processes and does things throughout their cycle. But this is a best guess of how everything can flow this year. It's a short session, so we should be able to get it finalized pretty quick.
That's good. Any questions, comments on this? Any motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Second.
I'll second.
All right. Everybody vote by way of saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? All right, next is something I can do. Appoint 2 members to the fiscal year 2026 budget committee. This year, I'm going to appoint myself and Stephanie Addington to that committee to work on the budget.
Thank you. Happy to do that.
Appreciate it. All right, next, building code official, the Zoning and Flood Ordinance Administrator Tim Williams.
Yes, I just wanted to give recognition to David Gilmer, who served as our building official and zoning and flood ordinance administrator for his 16 years of service. We did have him a retirement luncheon in January. He's been a big asset to the county for many years, and we'll miss his knowledge in that department. Tim Williams has been working with David for a little over a year as a building inspector, and Tim has been selected to fill that role after David's retirement. So I just wanted to let the board know that Tim Williams will be he was appointed by me in January, so he will be moving forward as the building code official, zoning and floodplain ordinance administrator.
Comments on that? Update from Richmond meetings. I guess that's me. I'm gonna go down here to the podium so I can actually talk to y'all and walk you through what all we did, how we did it. Let's see if this works. Hey, I can hear myself. So, every year we have the Southwest Virginia legislative session. A number of supervisors go to that. Last year there were quite a few. I think 4 of us went. 4 or 5? 5, okay. Went to that. This year only myself and Freda from the Board of Supervisors got to go, along with Lynn Fansler, John Kilgore, and Roger Frazier from the EDA. The Southwest Virginia legislative session is a time for all the counties in Southwest Virginia to show up in Richmond and show off what you've done in the past year and get support for upcoming projects. It's kind of a two-way street, right? It's a little bit of us hunting for money, and it's a little bit of them asking, well, what have you done since we gave you your last bit of money? As usual, all these organizations have plenty of money right up until the time you ask for it. So we'll see how we do with getting some of these grants. But we went to numerous places. First and foremost, Virginia House and then DHCD. Virginia Housing serves homebuyers, renters, and homeowners and business partners. They provide low-cost loans. DHCD is dedicated to making a prosperous community. There was a lot of talk about continuing to grow the workforce, and I'm glad the folks from MECC were here today because they're going to be integral partners in this expansion. And we talked a lot about expanding child care opportunities in Scott County to support working families. As you know, this has kind of been a pet project of mine that I've been trying to get off the ground here in Scott County. And I'm pleased to say we are making some progress, but I want to make sure we make progress for the whole county, not just a little bit here and there. So I'm still going to continue to work on that and pull all the levers I can there. There are plenty of funding opportunities there, planning grants, capacity building grants, community impact grants, all kinds of grants for either studying what could be done or should be done in some of our communities that actually planning out, housing developments and things like that. So we're going to look into applying for a few of those and see what we can come up with in the next year or so. Wireless build out. I know this has been a big subject in Scott County, right? I've been informed that hopefully, tentatively, every house in Scott County is going to have fiber internet connectivity by the end of this year. And that is huge. No other county in Virginia has done that, right? No other municipality, I don't think, has done that. Fiber to the door for every single citizen. But we got fiber. What about cell phones? I can have gig speed internet inside, but if I step outside my door and walk around on the farm, I don't have cell service. So since we are so far along on our fiber build out, there is a push to use federal BEAD money for wireless build out. So that is construction of the towers, construction of anything that might need to be done in that respect, and that's something that Scott County could greatly benefit from. But that is just a push for that money. That is not nothing that is material as of yet. They're going this budget year to talk with the feds and see what they can do to use that money. So that is a lead on some money that we could use to build out cell towers here, because I know there are a lot of communities that are underserved with that. Next, we went to the Virginia Tourism Corporation. You know, BDC's been a partner in keeping Scott County strong in tourism. It's been a strong year for tourism, right? Spending is up across a lot of categories, and there have been a lot of visitors coming to our region from Kentucky and Tennessee, obviously, as well as across the world. You know, we had the Carter Fold celebration this year. That brought in a lot of people. I think John said their bookings were up triple or double. I don't have that on my slide, but that's a fun fact. I was very proud to see that. No more people need to get up there and see the Carter Fold. There's a couple of bills coming up for expanded funding. It's HB 1901, SB 927. It's a Virginia Sports Tourism Fund. And when I think of sports, I think about soccer and basketball, but they think of it holistically. So it's everything from baseball and basketball to equine events. I know we're working hard to kind of help the horse park develop, and that might be an avenue for them to gain more funding. So we're going to keep an eye on those two bills and hope that they get through there. Finally, the National Tunnel Pool. That is a big thing in our community, especially down Duffield Way. Right, we want to get that back open. You know, it's a government project, so it's going to take some time. I think I was hoping last year that it was going to be up and running by this year. I'm still learning that government takes time to work. So it's looking like that is going to be in 2026. We also stopped by VDOT as they were just here. We talked about dirt roads, and the thing on dirt roads is they can't do anything unless the General Assembly gives them more funding. And they're probably not likely to give them more funding for that. We do have the revenue sharing opportunities to help build out those roads. So it's something we should think about if we can start to build up some industry and get some extra tax income in here, that we might put some money towards that. But that's really going to require a lot of extra money on our part. If you'll remember back, I think it was like $100,000 to pave a quarter-mile of road or something like that. So it's a lot of money, and we would be responsible for part of that. So we really need to work on everything we can do to attract businesses, to get that income up, so that can give us better roads. Funding for safety, there's the Ready, Set, Go, Smart Scale, all that stuff is what we're all very familiar with, and we're putting in applications, Smart Scale projects all the time. Ready, Set, Go was something that was new to me, so I'm looking into that a little bit more to see any funding opportunities we can get there. As I told Mr. Sumter, I proposed some sidewalks in Duffield. If y'all ever go down that way and go to the nursing home, if you look right on the right side, that's not just a strip where grass isn't growing. That's a strip where people are walking enough to kill the grass. So drive out there sometime and look at it. It is a well-traveled piece of land. Virginia Economic Development Partnership. You know, they are here to help us build out our county and help us attract and retain business and industry. The governor had an initiative called Accelerate Southwest Virginia that started last year. We're starting to see some of the fruits of that. VFP has brought on 50 new jobs. Then the location of RAP Technologies within our RIFA. You know, although that project in particular is not in Scott County, we do get money off of that project because we are part of that Lonesome Pine RIFA group. The other thing they mentioned, and this was a thread that I heard everywhere, is data centers. There is a lot of money out there right now for data centers. If you look at federal money that they're going to spend, they plan on spending $500 billion. That's with a B. $500 billion on building out our AI capabilities, with another potential $500 billion, again with a B, of funding to further that. So it's a $1 trillion initiative to kind of start this AI arms race is what I would call it. You saw DeepSeek, well, if you pay attention to the news, you saw DeepSeek R1 came out the other day, and that was China's kind of Sputnik moment for us, I would say. Right? It's really it shook the market for sure, but it's also going to shake us into starting to allocate capital towards that and really seeing if we can't be the first to get to something like AGI. I still think AGI is a long ways away, but these data centers will be a great funding opportunity for our county. A single data center, single hyperscale data center can be enough revenue to fund the whole county. It's pretty amazing. So something to think about, something we should pursue. Then we went to Davenport. Davenport is the certified fiduciary financial consultant, right? So they bring extensive knowledge. How many counties do they work with, Freda?
I'm not sure, there's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah. We were talking to one gentleman, and he was even working down in Tennessee with other counties, and they work in Virginia and Tennessee, and I'm sure West Virginia, I heard. North Carolina, all over the place. So they kind of understand what's going on. I talked to them about the courthouse financing, because I know that's something that's been on all of our minds, right? How we want to pay for this. But not only that is how does the interest work, and how are we going to finance that? And talking to them, they had a really good point with our funds invested in LGIP. We were getting a 4% interest rate. With the work that Freda's done to improve the credit rating of the county, we will probably get an interest rate on financing construction that's 3% or lower, probably. That difference there, basically we can pay the interest on this with that difference. So it's just something to think about as we talk about how this construction is going to go forward. It is a need for our county, and I understand it is a lot of money, but we do have methods, and we have had people working on the finances to set us up in the right direction. So thank you, Freda, for that. One thing that's going to come up again this year that came up last year is there's a 1% sales tax referendum, where that we could have a referendum to have an additional 1% sales tax on everything sold in the county, and those funds would be locked up and only available for school maintenance and construction. This would be a great way to finance some of our school issues that we're having. Some of our schools are very old. Some of them are built in the 50s, maybe 50s or 60s. Yeah. So they're pretty old, and they're going to need some either work or construction here soon. So it's just something to think about. A referendum puts it in the hands of the people of the county, so they would be the ultimate deciders. From my point of view, I don't see any problem letting them decide on that. So if it comes up, if we're allowed to, I'd love to have the board support on passing that on our part, and let the county residents vote yay or nay on it to fund the schools. And that way, everybody has a voice, and everybody feels like they got a horse in the race. So this was a pretty cool meeting. I really enjoyed this. Everybody from the Lonesome Pine RIFA kind of got some FaceTime with Governor Youngkin. That was fantastic. He's reinforced his commitment to Southwest Virginia. You can see me all the way over on the left-hand side there. I'm kind of trying to lean back out of it. But you can see Freda and John Kilgore a little bit closer. But yeah, he's kind of reaffirmed his commitment to Southwest Virginia, saying that there's opportunities to be had in Southwest Virginia, and he's pushing for those every way that he knows how. He said for us, whatever opportunities we could bring him within these last few months of his term, he'd be grateful for it. So, the onus is on us at this point, right? We have to go out and get the opportunities and bring them and see what we can do from that level. So I really appreciate his commitment and his candor towards us in that meeting. It was very nice seeing everybody. So connected themes throughout all of our visits, infrastructure and development. We have already invested in broadband, but investing in housing. transportation and tourism to really continue to grow the county. I don't know if you know this, but Scott County is the 15th largest county in Virginia. There is enough room for everything here. There's enough room for industry and tourism and everything in between. So we need to push on all of those levers to make this county grow. There are funding and grants out there for us everywhere. We just have to go out and pick them up and find the ones that we are a good fit for. I'm not saying we should go home right now and start filling out 1,000 grants. But there are some that we're good fits for that we are planning on applying for and going towards the future. And so the other thing is strategic planning and policy, right? With trying to attract industry and business, we need to see what we can do to step in and get out of business's way and let business happen in Scott County as much as possible. And as Board of Supervisors, there's a little bit we can do for that. And we can kind of work with some consultants that are paid for by the state to kind of develop a plan for housing and workforce development. So I think that is a great opportunity for us. So going into opportunities and action items, last year we didn't really have anything when we came back, and I want to make sure that I came back with a list of things to do because I work better when I have things to do. So the number one thing for us is develop a workforce, continue to support local education opportunities for trades and STEM degrees. We're going to need them. $1 trillion in AI funded, but also we're looking at reshoring a lot of our manufacturing. So that is going to be a boon to Scott County. I've been saying that for years. You can see it's coming. So that's something we need to work on. Support the development of services that a modern workplace expects, right? You can't go anywhere without finding childcare in any city of any size. And it really hurts my heart that Scott County is the size that it is, and we are unable to attract and keep childcare for our citizens. So just whatever we can do to support that. There will be some things later this year. The other thing is we want to increase the housing supply in Scott County. So I'm proposing that the Planning Commission, EDA, and the Board of Supervisors pass a resolution supporting the development and construction of additional housing supply in Scott County. I've already sent this resolution to the EDA. And they are taking a look at it. I think they'll take it up on their next meeting. I plan on going to the Planning Commission as well and sending that same resolution to them. Basically, it just says that we all do better when there's more people here and that our community can hold more people. If you look at it back in the 70s, Mr. Castillo said this a lot, there were 30,000 people here. Now it's getting close to being under 20,000, right? We're built to handle 30,000 people. You wouldn't notice a difference, really. So that's just something to think about. I want the Planning Commission and the EDA to pass those resolutions first, and then the Board of Supervisors do ours at the end. That way we can say to anyone that wants to build a house or build a development in Scott County that we are here to support you and we will do whatever we can to get this built. The third thing is we want to attract some data centers to Scott County. It's a great funding opportunity, and we already have a lot of industrial space, a lot of commercial space where one could go. We were told that a lot of them are looking like for a 40-acre plot with power and fiber. We have a lot of acreage in Duffield that we can use, so it's something that I would like to push. So one thing that I've asked Sally about on her way, and she probably very annoyed with how much I texted her while I was up there about this, is that I want to review the zoning for data centers in Scott County and allow them by right in industrial spaces and probably commercial spaces as well. And I would like to get the board's consensus on that so Sally can start looking at it and seeing what we can do there. A data center, while big and an imposing building, is not going to take any of our public services like fire, EMS, all that kind of stuff. you know, if they've got 25, 30 people working there, it's not going to be a dent in anything else that we're doing. They don't require roads. They don't have 18-wheelers rolling in here. So it's basically a building to house data. Or GPUs, whichever. But anyways, also as we review our zoning around data centers, I'd like to, for the board, in conjunction with the EEA, pass a resolution supporting data centers that just tells the data centers, the folks, that opportunities that we can find, that, hey, this county's ready, that this county has things in place, and we can basically have a shovel-ready project. And some of it, not even shovel-ready, right? We could lay a pad on some of the flat ground we've got ready for this and be good. So it's just something to think about. I'd like to send a letter of support for HB 1901 and SB 927. Those are the sports tourism funds. I think those two bills show a lot of promise, and I could get the exact wording for that for y'all and send that out. I should have a packet, but that's my bad. And then, excuse me, I want to support the usage of BEAD money for wireless build out. I talked to Dr. Tamara Holmes while we were up there, and she basically said, and I emailed her afterwards, and she said, a letter of support would be great, but we don't need it right at this time. So I told her to let us know when she would need a letter of support, and we would be glad to support this initiative for using that BEAD money for wireless build out. I think Scott County, we were looking at a coverage map, and we have a lot of places that are poorly covered. Not only Nicholsville and Gannon, but we also have Fairview and on into Lee County over in that way. So, pretty much as soon as you turn off at 23, it's dead, right? In a lot of places. That's how it used to be in Fairview until this past year. So that was that's kind of the action items. Does anyone have any issues with any of those action items? Can Sally go ahead and start reviewing zoning ordinances for those? And I want to get data centers get her recommendations as what we can do to allow data centers as close to by right as we can in industrial and commercial zones.
Sounds great. I appreciate that.
Everybody else? Yeah. All right. I'll count that as consensus, and I got a lot of head shaking. All right. That I will prepare us a letter of support for HB 1901 and SB 927, and probably next meeting we'll have a resolution for housing and data centers prepared, and I'll send that out to you all beforehand. I think that's all I got. Yeah. Thank y'all for supporting everything and all the county workers for what they do. They make this thing go around. Us as supervisors, we just come here and say yes or no. And but at the end of the day, they're the ones out here pursuing all these opportunities, and I really appreciate that. So, thank you.
I did have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you met with VDOT, did you discuss the Weber City property?
We did. I totally forgot about that. They are processing that request for half of it, but they're running into some issues about right-of-way, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, because our formal request was where the former solid waste site was, not the whole property.
Yeah.
And they're working on the right-of-way stuff because they still have a salt facility there. They're looking to move, but at this point, it's not moved yet, so.
Yeah, and also those buildings have lead and asbestos in them, and so they were going to have a headache trying to push them over onto us. So we only want the plat that doesn't have any buildings on it, or has as few buildings as possible on it, right?
And
So-
taking that piece out should make it, hopefully, somewhat faster process.
Yes, exactly. So we'll keep pursuing that with them. That's a good one, Mr. Sheen, that I didn't think to put in our presentation here. Any other questions? Any concerns? I have to say, we're well supported by our delegate and senator. They're doing their job up there. So, appreciate it. All right, that's it. Bookkeeping items. What have we got?
Sorry, I've got a big sheet today.
I saw.
Please appropriate $43,026.50 to Circuit Court Clerk's IT Technology Fund Office Equipment Additions 1405-21930. I can't see today. 408203 for monies received in deposit Treasurer's Office. Appropriate $350 to Board and Conferences Training 1000-1100-405540 for reimbursements received. Appropriate $1,565.54 to Clerk of Circuit Court Conferences and Training 1000-21700-405540 for reimbursements received. Appropriate $1,625 repair and maintenance of vehicles 1000-31200-406009 for insurance claims, and appropriate $1,358.69 Commonwealth's Attorneys Conferences and Training 1000-22100-405540 for a reimbursement received.
Do we have a motion to pay the bills? Oh, sorry.
Appropriation.
Appropriation. That's my bad. Wrong room.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Say there, she'll say it either one.
Okay.
Who are we going with?
We'll go with Danny.
Danny?
Yeah. All right. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. I will get used to that eventually. Anything else on the bookkeeping?
I've got grants to approve too. Please accept Sheriff's Office DCJS Operation Ceasefire Continuation 2025-OCGF Grant Award totaling $108,303 to the already established budget code 1000-31290, and accept Sheriff's Office DMV Alcohol Project Number ENFAL 2025-55096-25095 Grant Award totaling $20,800 to the already established budget code 1000-31265, and accept Sheriff's Office DMV Selective Enforcement Police Traffic Services Project Number BPT 2025-55154-25154 Grant Award totaling $14,880 to the already established budget code 1000-31268, and accept Litter Control's Virginia DEQ Litter Prevention and Recycling Program and the EPS Campaign FY25 Grant Award totaling $28,077.16. And if accepted, please establish expense code for litter control miscellaneous grant expenses 1000-3580-005863-01400 and appropriate $9,455.16. And accept Litter Control's Virginia DEQ FY25 Competitive Litter Prevention and Recycling Grant Award totaling $1,000. And if accepted, please appropriate $1,000 to the already established budget code expense code for litter control grant supplies 1000-3580-00406010. That's all the grants.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept these grants and establish these expense codes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Everyone go by the way of saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Is that all we've got?
Yes.
Okay. there might be another page.
Thankfully not.
Okay, great. On to appointments then. How many appointments, or how many positions are open?
You have let's see, 6 to fill.
Okay,
The first one is the Housing Authority. You have one opening, and this one was carried over from the January meeting. It was re-advertised, and there's still no applicants.
well, I have to see what I can find for that. What's the next one we've got?
The CPMT position is for a parent of a school-aged child. You did not receive any applicants, and the person serving in this did not reapply.
I have a person coming to sit in on those meetings to see if that's something that she wants to be a part of, so we are working down an avenue for that.
Okay, for the Courthouse Facilities Committee, Lisa McCarty's been serving, and she did reapply, and she is your only applicant.
I'll nominate Lisa McCarty.
I'll second the motion. No. I make the motion that nominations cease and we vote by acclamation.
All in favor?
You just said it.
I'll second.
We'll get this.
We'll get it.
Huh? Okay. Everybody vote by way of saying aye. Motion
Who was
carries.
the second? Mike.
Ricky.
Thank you. Next is the Crooked Road Board.
Yes, John Kilgore has been serving, and he did reapply, and he is your only applicant.
Okay.
I'll nominate John Kilgore for the position.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we, nomination cease, we vote by acclamation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Everybody vote by way of saying aye. Next.
You have one opening on the Planning Commission. Charles Bullock has been serving. He did reapply. You also have applications from Steve Pike and Shannon Stewart.
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate Shannon Stewart for that position. I've known Shannon for years. He's overeducated and overqualified. He'd make a great one.
I'll vote.
I would like to nominate Steve Pike.
Okay.
Steve's currently in Richmond. He's been up there several weeks. You may have run into him. He's with Spirit Trails.
Okay.
He's had experience there at the Capitol grounds and construction and permitting. And he's wanting to do some things in Scott County, and it looks like he's getting some things done.
All right, how do we approach this now that we have two, sorry, is there any other nominations?
I'll make the motion nominations cease. No, we don't have to do that.
No.
You just vote, all those for Mr. Stewart.
Okay, can we do a roll call vote on this, just so it's nice and clear for everyone?
Sure. Okay, voting for Shannon Stewart. Darrell, okay. I'll read your name and you tell me who you're voting for. Shannon Stewart or Steve Pike?
But
Michelle?
Mr. Pike.
Eddie?
Mr. Pike.
Mr. Bricky?
Stewart.
Mr. Castile?
Mr. Pike,
Mr. Manus?
Stewart.
And Miss Addington?
Mr. Stewart.
Okay, so Mr. Pike has 4 votes and Mr. Stewart has 3. Okay.
And you also need to appoint Chris Manus as the chief local elected official, since he's your chairman.
I'll nominate Mr. Manus to the Clio board.
I'll make a motion, nomination cease, vote by acclamation. Second.
All right, everybody vote by way of saying aye. to county attorney's report.
You all have my report on your tablets. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't have anything to add.
Thank you for all you do, Sally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you looking into these zoning ordinances. This one too. It's going to be a big help one. Any other questions? Comments? County Administrator report.
You have your financial report and the green sheet in your folders. The general fund balance after bills is $19,299. $19,290,912. Shoot. If you look at your comparison report, we are quite a bit ahead of where we were last year. Don't get too excited because we still owe the school system a little over $10 million for this fiscal year. So moving on to the claims, early set total $664,475. Total claims for the month is $1,450,383.70. Of course, the big one this month was the regional jail quarterly payment, which was $562,796. You do have a list of all your claims that's over $5,000. If you want to look over those and see if you have any questions about any of those, I can give you some more detail.
So we still owe the school 10 million?
A little over 10 million.
How do they get by till now? They're not drawn.
They have their virtual academy, and since they've been having that, they use that money instead of drawing down county money until the end.
Well, that's good. We draw yours.
So any questions on any of the over 5,000?
I'll make the motion to pay the bills.
I'll second that.
Everybody vote by way of saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Comments, requests, sorry? Oh, don't have any miscellaneous.
Since you don't have anything else, I did have a couple of questions. Speaking of the school system, I think it was $170,000 they agreed to pay for accounting services in the trash. Are they fulfilling their commitment?
Yes, I did bill them last fiscal year for that last 6 months, and they did pay that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were doing that every 6 months. It's not been sent this time.
The other thing regarding, they agreed to do county maintenance on some of the vehicles.
They have been doing that, yes.
Okay, good. Scott Services. What is their current, do you have any idea what their current fund balance is? I didn't know where that was located.
$381,000.
It's grown about $80,000 this year. Thank you. Well, one other thing. I looked through your blue budget sheet, forecast versus current. I think it's worth pointing out that our county treasurer, I think right now is, I think the item, the best I can tell, is $300,000 in interest. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the forecast is 200. So, and we're only halfway through the year.
All of our interest together has been about $800,000 since he has been in office.
That's fantastic.
1 year in office.
That makes a real difference in a county our size.
Because we're getting interest on our checking account, and we're also getting LGIP interest. So both of those are adding up substantially.
That's all I have.
That's fantastic, yeah. The budget's looking really good for where we're at in the year.
Considering where you adopted the budget at, I think you will come out pretty well this year without having to take all that money from reserves that you had budgeted because of the extra interest, and the collections on the tax rates are pretty well in the high 90s So there's still money on the table to be collected that we've not reached that budget point yet, but collections have been going well based on looking at the reports.
Yeah, and then we only budget for, what, 95% collection rate?
Yeah, I get the revenue forecast from the commissioner. I know we don't collect 100%, so I usually back that off, because if you're, 5% is a lot of hundreds of thousands. So if you don't collect that, you're already knowing off the top that you're going to be in a deficit. So I always back that projection down, and if you meet it or exceed it, then that's better for the general fund. But you've got to be conservative in your estimates on your revenue side, or you can get in a bind.
We'll probably have to pay a little for the jail just to come on.
I'm afraid our jail bill is going to be a big hit for next budget year. Our inmate count is up quite a bit. Plus we have some additional expenses, jail authority region-wide, that have hit this year that we will have to pick up on the local level. We'll probably have our first draft, February 19th is the regional jail meeting. I'm unable to attend because of a personal issue. But Mr. Jeter will be there, and of course I'll get the packet by email. So we'll know more about it at the March meeting on how the regional jail is going to shake out for this year, because we'll have next year's estimate, plus we'll have what our projection is that we'll owe in addition to the budget next year. We're used to getting, it's a cycle, it's up and down. We're used to getting money back, usually a couple $100,000, but it's hitting us this time. We'll have to make up the difference next time, because they do go out to a zero balance, and you either get money back or you pay. And it is, everybody goes through that cycle.
All right, any supervisor comments?
I'd like to thank the staff for all the work they do, and all the people on the board for the work they do. It's a thankless job.
Apparently. Anybody else? You good?
I did have we've basically already covered several items on VDOT, so I'll pass on that. Meetings attended this month. I did go to the Pivot Energy community meeting in Nicholsville, and I just wanted to mention that they will be having another meeting in February. Apparently they didn't advertise the first meeting.
It's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. It'll be at Keith Park, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is another meeting.
I encourage any supervisors who haven't went to that meeting to go.
I attended a Lennowisco meeting with Nicholsville Mayor Danny Dixon and former Mayor Becky Bryant for call for projects. A couple of items you mentioned, sidewalks. That's one of the items that they're interested in, and also generators, mobile generators. Ms. Starnes set up a meeting with Dr. Greer with Mountain Empire, and we've discussed that today. But we've got meetings this coming week and the next week. Larry Vickers will be assisting me. We'll be meeting with their Mountain Empire advisors that work with the high school students. And our goal is to get more participation with the parents. We feel like that's something that needs some work. So we'll be seeing how we can work on that. Tomorrow, I'll be attending a meeting with the Scott County Fire Department's joint meeting and the PSA staff, and we'll be discussing improved communications between the two departments in regards to fire hydrants. Central Scott County Water Project, that's Big Moccasin in Nicholsville, has been approved and it's advertised, I think, this week for bids. Human Hilton's already been announced. Those two projects are being advertised. The Virginia Mobile Loan Office has relocated to the Weber City Food City parking lot. That's the old Food City. His next date is February the 19th. We attended a Lennowisco meeting this week. Mr. Manus down in your area, ARC potential project applications. the Fairview Flower Gap Water Project, and that's a Lee County project primarily.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
will
that's
include,
Scott County too.
it'll be some of the Scott, not that many, but it's a 1.5 million, but they're just now starting the process, the application process.
Yeah, do you have any additional information on that? And I haven't heard from Lee County PSA, like how much of that area they're planning on covering. Are they planning on connecting Fairview Road completely to our system? Or are they
24 houses.
There's 24 houses or potential.
in Scott County?
No,
No.
that would be both
I
sides.
think it's just about 3 in Scott County.
Yeah.
It's just about 3. I'd like to see a map of where they're going.
Since you brought up the data centers, Lenowisco this week, none of the 7 sites in the Lenowisco study for small modular reactors is being considered for development. However, a feasibility study was approved for a micro reactor for Wise County, and they can be utilized for critical infrastructure such as hospitals and water treatment facilities, also data centers. I think the data centers are now building their own units. They're
Yeah.
calling them micro units.
So there are some data centers that are building that. There are some data centers that are working on solar. There are some data centers that are working on gas peaker plants as well. So it's a combination of all the above. And that's a great point. Like Scott County needs to adopt a strategy of all of the above for energy and really mean all of the above. If we had 30 megawatts extra in our grid here, we wouldn't have no problems attracting a data center, or we wouldn't even have to fuss with AEP about that. So, you know, that's something we need to consider when these solar projects come up, because every megawatt counts as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, continue.
I think this has already been in the media, but you know, some people watching might not have gotten it. Regarding cell service equipment upgrades, broadband, there was $405,000 loan and $405,000 match by Lenowisco for Scott County Telephone and Verizon, awarded to Scott County to help upgrade cell service equipment. Dungannon water line replacement continues, and that may be finished by now. Upper Cliff Mountain Phase 2 water project, $440,000, second round funding to follow the Black Gun project. APCA down in Daniel Boone area, they're now doing tax returns. And I think the qualifier there, if you're under $64,000, they can help you with your tax returns.
Can you go back to that Upper Cliff Mountain? Where are they with that project? Because I've talked to a couple of the residents. Do you know anything about that Upper Cliff Mountain Phase 2?
I don't recall.
I can answer that. The weather held up AEP connecting the power because of the hurricane. They had to pull off, but they are back on that, so it should be operational soon.
Some of those folks reached out to me.
I think that's all they like, is power.
Yeah, but the hurricane got AEP off that project, so they are working back on it now. Should be.
Thank you.
APCA Daniel Boone office is open for tax returns now, and they're going to be opening an office in Dungannon to help people with tax returns. If you make less than, I think it's $64,000. So that's all I have.
I have a couple things.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just waiting to see if
Yeah.
anybody else was gonna
You're fine.
say anything. On Monday, the 10th of February at Clinch River Health Services, there is the mobile mammogram unit from Ballad will be on site to provide mammograms to anybody who shows up. If you have insurance, that your insurance will just be billed, but if you do not have insurance, you do not receive a bill from them for that service. So I would encourage anybody, doesn't necessarily have to be male or female, either way, to go if you need a mammogram to do that.
What time?
I would say all day. I would say probably by 8:30 in the morning. I know they usually stay all day, so. And I would encourage anybody, because everybody that I've talked to that's gone to that, they've never received a bill, and it's a good it's a good opportunity for that.
What's their in and out time? Could someone do it during lunch? Is that,
I would say so. I would say so.
how long does it take?
You give, I can give you all the number to the clinic, and they can probably give more information. It's 467-2201, which gets you the clinic's main line, and they can probably give more information on how fast that, you know, if you need to schedule. I don't think you can schedule it, or you might be able to schedule it. I just know it's going to be there, and I wanted to pass that along because it's very important, I think. And speaking of the budget, I just want to go back to last year really quick. And as we all know how the misinformation got put in the paper, and just request that let's work together as a group, as Chris and I are on this budget committee, to not put out any kind of false information for the public to just to get the public riled, because last year could have been completely avoided. And I think we all agree with that.
I'd like to remind you, Ms. Addy, that all references made to adjustments in the tax rate refer to real estate tax. All communications I received, there was nothing else identified other than real estate taxes.
But I've got it right here where you took out, what I'm talking about is the ag you took out into.
You said I misrepresented it.
Yeah, it's
It
misrepresented.
was exactly what we discussed in our budget committee.
No.
I can go back and give you the emails.
You can go back and do whatever you feel like you need to do to try to justify your actions, but in my opinion, and I think everybody here on this board agrees, that right there was misinformation. And it was conveyed to the public to create the atmosphere that it created. I just want to say that, you know, this year, I hope that you'll have more respect for this board and more integrity on this board than to do something like that, to put us in the shape and form we did last year. I
think we had a good response from the public, and I think that's our responsibility, is to inform the public.
We did have, I will grant you that, we did have a response from the public, but if you felt like that was a good response, okay.
So you prefer no one showed up, is that?
I prefer no one show up on the accord that they've been lied to, if that's what you want me to just come out and say.
Ms. Starnes, I'll ask you a question. In our communication regarding the tax increases, what effect the budget would have, up or down, I think all the references that you and I have discussed refer to real estate tax.
Okay, I'll explain this process. The budget committee gets the budget at your worst case scenario. That's everybody's request that they had. That's what we worked through for a month, and was that if you were going to fund everything everybody asked for, it would have took that much of an increase. But you need to work on this board as a group then to take things off the budget that you cannot fund. That, I agree, that should have never been advertised as a 23% increase. That was not realistic, because this board had not took a look at that whole budget yet and made their changes. And we're still dealing with those repercussions 9-10 months later.
Yeah.
So I want to actually make a formal censure of that for the record.
Is there a second on that?
Well, you said 9-10 months later. The thing she's got here is Monday, May the 6th. Is that right? When I was reading that was when that was
That was when we met. This was in the paper.
right.
And this was
tax
our meeting.
proposal was 23%.
There was no proposal on any level, form, fashion. So I'd like to formally make the request that we censure Mr. Skeens for his actions during the last budget year for communication of that false information.
I think the process, the 23, did we start at 23?
That's what you put in
I
the
think,
paper.
No.
I mean, I can
I think when
actually,
we first started, it's actually, if you'd gone with all the capital projects, it would have been much greater than that. As we worked through the process, I think we were ending up at that 23% budget.
no.
To bring it to the full board, we were at that level.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm
the
saying.
full board has a month that they work on the budget too and bring those down in open session for everybody to come and listen.
That's the whole reason I appointed myself to the budget committee this year, is because last year I spent that whole month combing through that budget, multiple meetings with Freda, and I felt like I did y'all's work for you. Just happening out there.
Well, you should have been on the budget committee if you were spending that much time with it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm doing it
I
this
mean,
year.
last year.
That was afterwards. That was after the budget committee.
The censure, can you explain that?
It's just a formal, I can read the legal definition if you'd like. Censure is a form, let's see. Let me back up here. Hey, Sally, do you know if there's it's in, let's see. There's a couple of different definitions, but I will. Is a typically done through a structured process, a vote within an organization or governing body where the majority decision is needed to officially censure someone. A censure often involves a public statement outlining the reasons for disapproval, making it a form.
Ms. Cagle, is there anything else that needs to be added to that?
I don't have an opinion. This is new information to me right now, and I don't have anything to add.
Can we just agree just to work together? Do we have to do this right
No,
here?
we don't have to do this,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
I would rather
I am-
just work together as a team.
That's what I want to do. That was the purpose for
And
this.
not even worry about the past, worry about now and the future. I mean, today's meeting has just been unreal.
And it's not over yet.
And it's not over. It bothers me so bad that all these accusations that have come forward to us today, the time frame, the 9 a.m., I understand that it's an issue with people who work. We all work. We've all got to pay our bills. But we tried the 6 p.m. thing and no one showed up. And it was so hard for people who did come and spoke in front of us to talk to us, and they couldn't even get their words out because they were so exhausted and so tired because they were waiting for their terms. I mean, and then salary-wise, I get you, I do. But, you know, I mean, it was listed, I've got a 2022 copy of the salaries, and it plainly says that you were assistant then. You know, this woman works hard. She works hard. She knows these numbers backwards and forwards. And it just bothers me that everybody just keeps coming on her and Bill, and they all work together. I'm on the waste committee, and we brought in Freda to help us. And these two work great together. I've learned that in this past year that we've worked together on this committee. And it just blows my mind that we all can't just work together as one unit for these people. You know, I've spoken. I've got an open door policy. I know everybody else here does. If you've got problems, if you've got issues, if you've got concerns, you can't get a hold of Daryl, call me. If you can't get a hold of Eddie, call me. Let us help you, and that's why we chose to run for the positions that we are in, because we want to help the county.
Yes.
I I agree. So let's just all agree that this year we go through the process like it has been done in the past. And no formal censure or anything like that, but listen, we're working together for this county. I'm here because I love this
I think
county.
that's the best thing. We all love the county. We all love the people. That's why we're in the positions that we are in. And we all need to work together to help this county and help these people. You know, I've gone to an EDA meeting this past month, and there were maybe 4 people there at that meeting, and you know they've got a public comment section. You know, if you've got issues with Riverside, or, you know, why is there nothing there at Riverside? What are we doing with Teletech? You know, come to these meetings and stand in front of those folks and ask them, you know, what's going on? You all have a voice, and you need to speak, and come into the meetings, you know, helps you speak out and ask these questions. But if you can't come to the meetings, especially this one, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're here. We're your voice. So that's why today, when VDOT was here, I made the comments, you know, about Mr. Hobbs calling me and Mr. Kessner calling me last night, and people calling me, you know, throughout the months. I always ask. I will find out. If I don't know the answer, I will find that answer out for you. And everybody else on this board will do the same thing. But, you know, like I said, I understand the 9 a.m. is a problem for everybody, but please do not hesitate to call one of us, or email us, or message us and say, hey, I've got this problem, or hey, I've got this issue. And let us find out the answers for you, because that's why we're here. That is why we're here, is to help you all. And I'm sorry.
No, you're
I had to get that off. I had to get that off my chest, because it's been bothering me the whole
That's all
time.
right. Sorry, we've got to go into closed session now for one item.
I've got one thing to say before.
Okay, sorry.
I've been here a long time, longer than anybody. And the first meeting I come to, I was gonna satisfy everybody. I went out of that meeting and I said, this ain't working. I'm gonna do what I think's right for the county. And they can growl or fuss, and I've seen the room filled a dozen times, but you're gonna have them people, no matter what you do, you're gonna have them come in and fuss, just like today. But do what's right for the county and forget about it. Go home with a clear conscience. If you're doing what's right, then don't worry about it.
During the year last year, while I was chairman, after we had this uproar over what was in the paper, I mentioned censor, and I also mentioned non-disclosure agreements. The EDA signs non-disclosure agreements where they cannot come out of their meetings,
They're closed
and
sessions.
give stuff to the public. We had stuff to come out of our executive session into the public where we need non-disclosure agreements. Chris and I looked at some stuff that Sally came up with for censoring people. And we didn't put it in the handbook because we thought it would upset everybody during the last year, but we were going to look at it again this year. We've already approved our handbook again, and it's still not in there, but I think I was told when we approved it that being able to censor somebody or to do a non-disclosure agreement would be discussed later. So maybe we can do that, to be added to our conduct.
Since you brought that up, things coming out of closed session, I think that's referring to me. And I was contacted following a Republican Party meeting by some of the attendees, asking me about the Riverside property. And they were giving me all the information we heard in closed session. So I was, later on I did respond. But that was discussed in an open public meeting at the Republican Party meeting. I think Miss Addington was there. And I think you can't remember if you discussed it or not. I think it's your response.
That's a private matter from myself.
Well, let's hold on just a second here. We were sworn to secrecy. However they got that was not
Right.
And that came out in the public that way. But I think the problem where we had was, is you mentioned that in an open meeting, and that caused some confusion with a lot of folks. And then, you know, I understand that it's hard to differentiate between those two, but the things that we say in closed session are not for open session. They're a competitive advantage most of the time for
But
our
the same
county.
rules apply to a Republican Party meeting.
They're not governed.
With the board, with our board members
They're
that
not-
were in closed session.
they're not-
Can they discuss it at a Republican
They're
Party?
not governed by
Our
that.
members did not discuss it at the,
Well, I was told they did.
no.
I was
You're
told,
misinformed.
I was told that Ms. Hagan was discussing it at the Republican Party meeting. That she was
That's a
in,
new one
that
on
you were
me.
in a part of the discussion in the group
I'm sure
that was
you
talking
were.
about it.
I'm sure
That's
you
what,
were.
I wasn't there, but
Oh, obviously you
that's
were.
what the people told me that were there.
Yeah, okay, but if we start going off of he said, she said, all that kind of stuff, we're gonna end up in a mess. And the difference is that you mentioned it during an open session. That is recorded and goes out to the county. That's the difference there. But we're not gonna get anywhere on this discussion right now. We do have one item to go into closed session about. Do I have a motion?
Before we go to that, you heard, I guess, Ms. Myers, that she wanted that, and I'll have to be the first one to tell you that I voted to change the time from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I take a lot of heat for it, and I'll tell them, why did they change it? I said, no, they didn't change it, I voted myself on that. Well, why did you vote? We didn't get, I told them, people didn't show up. I said, we could not get this no more at 6 o'clock as we can at 9 o'clock in the mornings. I said, first thing is I ain't ready to argue at 10 o'clock at night. I'm ready to go to bed to get something to eat. And I get a little juice when they get on to me. I said, I don't have a cook. Then I've got to go to Kingsport at 11 o'clock. But I hear that pretty regular. Now, I don't care to change it back, but I don't want it at 6 o'clock because you don't get home in bed to 12 o'clock. But if y'all would want to change it to 4:30 or something, till we could get home, or leave it like it is, I'm ready. I'm happy either way. Yeah, that's all I've got to say.
It would cost me the same amount of PTO that I'd have to take either way.
Because I hear that, you know, I'll say 2 or 3 times a month, and I've had ever since we've changed it. But if y'all got any suggestions or anything that y'all want to do,
I think the
willing to
time, the
listen.
9 a.m. time is fine. I think the 9 a.m. time is fine, because like I said before, we're their voice. And they can call upon us at any point, any time, email us messages, come by my house, I don't care. But, I mean, and talk to us, because that's why we're sitting here. We were voted in by the people, and that is why we're here today.
Right.
And if they trust us to be in this seat, then they can trust us to get their questions answered and find out, you know, the answers to the issues that they've got. They've got to trust us because they put us here.
Well, like I told them, I'd stay here at 15 minutes to 11 before, back when we had it at 6 o'clock. I said, y'all leave, then we go back and close sessions and different things. And I said, y'all get home an hour or so earlier than we do, to an hour and a half. And I said, we're still here arguing about different things. But I said, some nights we don't get out here. I said our record was 10:30 at night at that time.
And it was rough because I worked shift work.
Yeah.
And going home at 12 o'clock, not being able to wind down till 1 o'clock in the morning, have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, you know, but I chose that. I chose this to help the county, and I'm not fussing about it, but it was a little rough working 12-hour shifts and all that, but you know, that's me,
Because what
but
else
I would
we
do
had
anything for this
last
family.
week, he is fussing about it. And I said, no, there ain't gonna be no more 6 o'clock, I can tell you that. I said, I can see 4 o'clock for 4:30. But I said, no, I don't want no more 6 o'clock meetings and be there almost 5 hours.
All right.
That's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Closed session.
Yeah, we have one item to go into closed session for A1 personnel, being county administrator. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
All second?
All right. Give us 5 minutes to get in there.
Yeah.
Everybody can stretch and.
What's the minute?